Welcome to another interesting episode of the Weekly Wowos. My name is Dennis Musali, your weekly host, and this week we have a lot of stuff that we want to digest. But I'm sure you've read all that stuff on Kawowo Sports, but we'll just be breaking it down for you in more detail, considering that these are some of your favorite topics. I am with Franklin Kawowo, the editor of Kawowo Sports, and Joseph Man Mohumza, rugby connoisseur. And this week I want to make sure that I throw out your starters, just to make sure that there is only one starter. And I think there's no bigger news. There's no bigger news that happened last week than the decision by the Confederation of African Football awarding the AFCON title to Morocco.
Yeah.
Big deal because Kawowo Sports was part of the AFCON in Morocco in a very, very big way.
Yeah.
I think nearly all the team, I think apart from the three of us here, we are the only ones who didn't go. But everyone else was in Morocco, and it was such a big deal. Some of us had even predicted Morocco as the winner, but not that way.
Not that way. On the
pitch. Not that way. But I mean, that was the biggest news, I think, coming out of the sporting world in Africa last week. Yeah. Not just Africa, but the world over as well, because I listened to different sports podcasts, and it was still a conversation. That decision, not a very popular one, but depending on where you are, you may accept the news. Let me start with Joseph first before I come to Franklin. Your views of that decision.
The first time we saw that information, I think Ugandan time, it was way past midnight. And the whole world woke up, actually, after seeing that the Moroccans had been awarded with the trophy. And of course, very many questions were asked, especially from the fans. And there's a lot of speculation at how CAF arrived at the decision, and that now infamous rule, that Article 82 that they were quoting in that decision. And it is quite embarrassing, but it has happened.
Yeah, very true. I mean, just 2 months later. Yeah. But just to sort of even add more context to it, the appeals board, what they base their decision on is that I'm not very conversant with these football things, but I'm also learning that the moment that Senegal walked off the pitch, that should have been it for the game entirely. Yeah. Whatever happened after that was a compromise, which was out of the law. Yeah.
Here is the thing. If you want to apply the article forfeiting the game, there was no purpose of that game continuing the moment players leave the pitch without the permission of the referee. That is when you should apply it. The fact that you accepted to compromise, it means that you had thrown everything out of the window for the sake of the game, for the sake of the fans who had, of course, entered the stadium, and for the image of the African game, you accepted for the game to continue. And by the way, people may look at the walk-off as a decision that was bad on Senegal's part, but I think when you start from that point, you kind of miss the whole point. A few minutes before, Senegal had scored a goal on which Hakimi was apparently shoved on the back, and in my view, he failed so easily for that touch, for a defender to fall that easily because of a touch. Now, a few minutes later,
your view is not binding, eh?
Of course, it is not binding, but I mean that is not a push. It wasn't a clear-cut push where you like it's a push and so it gave the scorer an advantage. I don't think so. Now, and Senegal, of course, Senegal players and coaches did not feel any different. Now, a few minutes later, you award a penalty, which was dubious, of course, in Senegal's view. And that is what caused them to walk off.
Their view, not
Again,
the
their view. Of course, the referee is the judge of truth and fact on the pitch, but some bit of favoritism, I think. Now, until that point, I think the match was going okay. Had that penalty not been awarded, I believe everything else would have gone on quite okay. I think everybody was content at that point. And I think they were willing to go into extra time now. When you give a penalty at that point, you're kind of causing so many things that could have not been to be. And obviously, with how strict the rules of the games are, and for me, if you wanted to kind of award that forfeiture, it should have happened on that day, on that pitch.
Yeah, exactly. Very true, Franklin. But I also just there'd been a narrative that had sort of been built, I think, especially from the playoffs, that people the powers that be wanted Morocco to be the winners of the tournament.
Even Moroccans wanted to.
Of course, as a host nation, you'd want to
win from the stories that the guys were there. Were
again,
telling you,
that's a narrative that is driven by the media. Yeah. But personally, I feel that I don't know whether it was a bit of weakness in terms of emotional intelligence by Senegal. Every sportsman, they will tell you there are things that are within your control and there are things that are not within your control. Like officiation, that is, so you sort of try and manage the things that you can manage and leave those that you can't manage. Senegal walking off, for me, that was the first sort of red flag for me. That should never have happened. You should never even consider it, thinking that the official is cheating us and trying to make sure the other team wins. In my opinion, I think that was very, very bad for the African image. Yeah. While everyone thought that maybe they were right in their own way, I think in professional sport that should never be your go-to option at all in a game. Let me start with Joseph.
Personally, when I watched that game, I believe that penalty was an actual penalty, and that there was a foul there on the Moroccan player, and it was a correct decision. But then, as Franklin said, that whole build-up throughout the whole game, I think throughout the 80 minutes of the game, you could feel that there was that tension, especially from that Moroccan midfielder. I forget his name, but you know those defensive midfielders who are Bakajambia. Like that was his whole game, and he only got a yellow card in extra time. So I think for the Senegalese, that anger was building up throughout the whole game, and when they get that decision, they do not take it lying down. And Dennis, I'll disagree with you because I believe that they have every right to express their dissatisfaction. And for them, that is how they did it. And it actually got them results because then they are called back to the pitch and eventually they win the tournament.
Yeah. I didn't talk about how Senegal reacted to that decision. Of course, from the rules perspective, obviously in that moment, that was bad. I think there are ways of protesting a decision like that. You can decide as players to sit or to stand in whatever in the 18-yard area, and that penalty will not be taken. And of course, that is going to pretty much force the referee to either caution all of you, and then if you insist again, of course, a red card is going to issue to each one and every one of you, and then at that point. Of course, it's not going to be taken. If a match can't continue when you have less than 6 players, on the pitch. And so, of course, the decision of walking off was, I think, a bad way of protesting. If that is what you're trying to say, I'll agree to that.
Exactly.
You could have taken other means of protesting the decision than just walking off. Probably, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's really my point. And in my head, I think officiating in North Africa is not very, very easy. I think 2 weeks ago, there was a referee who sort of stood in the middle, held his red card. Is like, whoever is trying to come and mess with me, I'm going to issue a card. Yeah. But of course, that decision, my legal friends, and I hope I get this right, they were telling me it's called rebrogate and abrogate. You cannot benefit from an injustice, which Morocco is trying to get. The injustice being that they accepted to be part of the injustice in the first place, which was continuing with the game, yet it should have just ended there, hoping maybe they will benefit from the injustice, and when they never did, they sort of tried to go back to what should have been the correct, correct procedure. But we'll wait and see.
For them, the fact that the referee stood his gun that the penalty is going to be taken, for them, they would wait the whole day. Exactly.
But Senegal says they'll take this to the Court of Arbitration of Sport. I mean, very, very cheeky there from the president of Senegal.
Of course,
so it's see that photo when the AFCON is right behind him, so like, come and get it.
It is in a way, it's a very, very bad precedent, I think, for CAF. If anything, they should have had conversations.
What I found very interesting is the president was sort of against that decision.
But he was okay with the judicial body, like the judicial body can do, because they have basically they have been given the mantle to handle those kind of cases. So while he says he may disagree with the decision and all that, but he insists the judicial bodies have to do their work.
The disagreement was in a personal capacity.
It's in a personal capacity, not for.
Okay, interesting. We'll wait and see what happens. But
and it is actually just an insinuation from his expression. It is like he doesn't agree with the decision, not that he said it doesn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But then for me, I feel like CAF in this moment has now washed itself of this whole scenario, since it's now going to CAS. They can as well tell that. They can as well tell the Mugaga that for us to give you the trophy, it's those guys up there who have taken it from you. So for them, they are good.
Tell the Mugaga for us, we did our part. Yeah, but I think in terms of precedent, you make a good point. I don't know how far they can continue with this.
It becomes very, very, very complex, because now at this point, you kind of have to review pretty much all the whatever the laws of the game on which you're basing on to kind of award, and then two, you have to be a bit more stringent. I mean, going forward, you have to explicitly communicate to teams that from now on, regardless, the moment you walk off, it's game done. Yeah. There's no compromise, no nothing. It doesn't matter at what level of the game you're at. It doesn't matter the tournament and that point. And if that doesn't happen, of course, teams are going to continue using this kind of lacuna they've always been in laws and all that to kind of create an advantage for themselves. Yeah,
and but sort of an anticlimax for what was an amazing AFCON tournament that was hosted by Morocco. Yeah. This sort of waters down everything else.
Yeah, and by the way, the guys there, I think Joe Muit and Edwin, kind of highlighted how that moment stained the tournament that was so perfectly organized. Of course, those stories are on Kawowo. You can just go and click on AFCON 2025 button up there. You'll find all those stories about the AFCON. But they specifically pointed out the fact that that finals moment was too great that you couldn't overlook it. Yeah. For what was an amazing tournament for sure.
Yeah, I'm fortunate there that this decision sort of, like Franklin has said, stains what was such a wonderful tournament and a wonderful experience for all the teams that were in Morocco, not just the players, but even the fans as well. And we hope it doesn't set a bad precedent for CAF. And in the end, you hope that what is the right word they use, that for something that everyone wants, social justice or natural justice will happen. And maybe Senegal remains a champion, Morocco finds its way, and they win Pamoja in 2027.
Yeah, what about entitled? There's a lot of entitlement. You were given the opportunity to win the game on the pitch, Nechigana. Surely, if anybody should be blaming Diaz for missing the penalty, not really Senegal for scoring in the extra time.
Yeah, because I think even the decision to make sure the game continue was done in the spirit of Ubuntu Africa and how we are. That let's carry on with the game. But if Morocco had even stood their ground, then they would have been right in that moment to say, you know what, you guys walked off. The whole 17 minutes is a very long time. That's enough time for everyone to have calmed down and make up your minds whether to continue with the game. But that's a big story of last week from the sporting world. And like Franklin has said, please go to Kawowo Sports for more details from our football editors, football writers who've been able to paint a bigger picture about the decision by CAF and what sort of precedent it will set for African football going forward. The next AFCON will be in Kampala. That's the Pamoja. So that decision will also inform us who will be the defending champion for the Pamoja tournament.
Did you guys see a rumor that started cooking as soon as that happened of Uganda and Kenya, Tanzania trying to apparently trying to pull out of hosting the tournament?
I saw for you to get the right to host a tournament, $30 million. We have money. Yeah, we have money, but I think that sort of investment is very, very good because ultimately it comes back to you in so many other ways. Yeah. And hopefully that rumor has been circulating that Kenya, they are starting to feel like, why should we host this thing anyway? But hopefully that Pamoja bid goes forward because there are so many things that could come to us out of hosting AFCON. And I think the entire region is anxious on what Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania are going to be doing for that Pamoja bid and hosting the rest of Africa in this beautiful part of the world. That was for the CAF decision and on who should be the winner of AFCON 2025. We'll now switch up the conversation and talk about a big sporting weekend in the rugby world, the Enterprise Cup returning. I didn't even know it has a big history. I saw dates of 1920. We're playing rugby then. Okay. Some context?
Should I?
Yeah, please.
No, originally, the Enterprise Cup was basically a club competition between Uganda and Kenya. Of course, the traditional Ugandan clubs were, of course, the Ginger Rugby Club, and then, of course, the Kampala Old Boys. So these were the major participants from across the region. Of course, we know sport started with our colonialists. Of course, they would be people dominating that kind of stuff, and then, of course, they play their Kenyan counterparts and all that. So when they were starting it back then, that was the point of kind of creating a competition between these two countries, because one, of course, rugby comes from the guys who colonized us. Of course, they were the guys who started the sport, and obviously they introduced the sport here. So because it was Britons here, Britons across the border, so they kind of wanted to have a competition between the two countries, the two club countries, and that is the kind of how it all started for the Enterprise Cup.
Oh wow, kudos to the Kenya Rugby Union and the Uganda Rugby Union for reviving the Enterprise Cup. I think it's a brilliant idea. That's the only way we can always sort of check where you are and try and compete amongst ourselves and even keep growing our different fan bases. I know how...
Compete among ourselves.
I know how, because I come from a background where I know how much we benefited from playing franchise cricket between ourselves and Kenya.
Who were at the top back then?
Yes, Kenya, who were the top then, and how much it benefited Ugandan cricket. So I'm always a big fan of things like this. You know, most times Ugandans have that saying of every time you think your mom is only cook, but when you visit the neighbors, you're like, okay. You change your mind. So, but let's start from across the. I think let's start from across the border to Ugandan teams traveling to Nakuru. That's the Cobs and the Toyota Buffaloes. The Buffaloes very smart. I think they had. Those are things I normally see when Uganda is playing. The guys before the game. They line up and what, and then they put team together. But the Buffaloes very organized. Unfortunately, they ran into a very strong team in Nakuru and were unable to get the result. Let's start with the two Ugandan teams. Both of them losing across the border. The results not going their way. Not a good outing for the both of them. And I think last week Joseph had predicted that Cobs may be the Ugandan team to do some business. But unfortunately, they were unable to do to get a good result on the road. Let's start from there.
So the Cobs and the Buffaloes represented Uganda in Nakuru, and of course they are playing against a very strong opposition because the Menengai Oilers, for example, are last year's finalists, and they lost to a Cabras that was here just this Saturday, and. The Cobs, when we're here, we're talking about how the Cobs have a very good chance. But then when I saw the squad that they released and the squad that they are going to play with, then even to Nevicho Kamu, but still, their score was the closest amongst the losers. I'm sorry.
At some point, I think
Fred.
they had. At some point, I think Cobs were within just 4 points, 4 points of 4 points of Nons, 17-13. I think that was very, very close to start with. But one thing that we expected from the Cobs is that they were kind of going to keep the tight a bit close because in all honesty, of the 3 Kenyan teams, I mean of the 4 Kenyan teams, I think Nons were quote unquote enough. So when you say that Cobs had a chance against Nons, I think you're not absolutely wrong. Like you're not over ambitious to say that of the 4 Kenyan teams, they were a little bit the right opposition, and we've seen Cobs improving since that opening day, lost to Pirates in the league, and so actually they had a real chance. But when you're playing, of course, strong opposition in terms of the quality of rugby that they play, they are playing not technical at home, but at home in Kenya. A bit some kilometers away from their real home, but still in Kenya, it was always going to be a bit tough. Of course, it is cold at this point in the air, extremely cold. Of course, guys did the captain's run, Monkuba. I want to believe that what Cobs put out in that 29 loss that they had, I think was really quite good enough for now. I think as a starting point, I think that is okay. It is okay.
It's something they can build on.
Something that they can build on for sure.
Okay, the Cobs are now coming up short, but a good effort from them in terms of what they were able to do over the weekend on the road in Nakuru. I've been to Nakuru, and like Franklin says, it's a very, very cold place. Very, very cold, extremely cold, that for you to go through a day, sometimes it can even, the sun can come out, but it will still be very, very cold. So not an easy place to visit, especially if you're coming from, it's been raining in Kampala, but I'll tell you, Kampala cold can never compare to what you go through when you go to Nakuru. But the other Ugandan team, the Buffaloes as well, not coming through that game. Heavy defeat for them. Anything they could have done better?
No. What was certain for sure is that everybody around rugby in Uganda, of course, and in Kenya knew that they did not stand even a single chance against the Menengai Oilers first. And by the way, what that came out of the border was that it was Menengai that was most interested in playing that cross-border Enterprise Cup. That's why actually it was hosted in Nakuru at the home of Menengai. Actually, they funded, apparently, they funded everything that side for the tournament to go ahead. So for a team that badly wanted this competition, it was going to be, forget about just wanting the competition, but given the quality of the, because Menengai are the only team that at this point challenged KCB and Cabras, you know, in the Kenya Cup. And so to say Buffaloes, who are just on the come up, have a chance against a side like that, it was always going to be difficult. And there was a zero chance that Buffaloes were going to kind of trouble Menengai in a way. And that result didn't come as a surprise for any of the rugby fans in the country or even just in Kenya. I think that was a result that was expected. It was going to be tough for the young boys of Buffaloes to get anything out of that game.
Okay, I think maybe just before we cross over to the games that happen at home, what sort of experience do you think Cobs and Buffaloes take away from their travels?
One, I want to start with the Buffaloes one, and I think we had a chat about it before the games, that one of the things that the Ugandan teams are going to get is that they are going to see what high quality rugby looks like outside of the natural competition that you get from the local competition. I mean, the biggest opponents that Buffaloes had played until then were Heathens, Cobs, and Pirates. And now you're playing a team that scoring 60 looks like it's so easy, and they don't have to break any kind of sweat. You're going to struggle in the scrum because you know the Kenyans are well conditioned. They're big. You know, when they have a center who is as big as your eighth man, you know what you're facing, you know. So you're always going to get to understand the importance of, first of all, condition. Not that you did not know it, but what it means to be well conditioned as a rugby player. And of course, when you get to experience that kind of conditions where shoulder no julie, it's just a scrum, like they set a scrum and then you don't feel your shoulders anymore, you know. I think in terms of understanding the requirements of playing rugby at any elite level, Buffaloes, the players, of course, and the coaching staff, they now understand the requirement that there is for a team to play that kind of rugby at that level. And then obviously for Cobs, some of their players had been, of course, in Kenya and all that, but again, the experience is pretty much the same. While they had played at a good level, it still helps in a way that the lessons that you're going to take is not necessarily just the losses, but again, what it means or what it requires to play rugby at that level in terms of structure, the structure that you're going to run as a team, in terms of the condition that you need for your players, in terms of game intelligence and that kind of stuff. Because I'll give an example. In the lineouts, most of the lineouts that Nons were throwing, we used to lineouts where we are throwing to the either at 3 or we are throwing at 4. The Menengai were throwing at the last man, and Mubukira wano, and then they are putting the ball at the farthest jumper and stuff like that. And understanding as a team to kind of the kind of advantage that you get in small situations to kind of overpower your opponent, you know, where you don't have one kind of line out structure that you have and all that, alternating jumpers depending on where you're throwing the line out from and that kind of stuff. I think those are lessons that our teams can take, and some of the stuff you're going to see them trying to implement them in the local league, especially when they're playing against teams that they think, here I can kind of explore something that I saw and that kind of stuff.
All right. I think a lot of good lessons and only good things can come out of that experience for both Cobs and the Buffaloes. But now let's bring it home and talk about the games that happen in Uganda. In different results for both Ugandan teams because one of them has moved on to the semi-finals. Yeah. The Black Pirates coming out of a strong game to win against KCB. Yeah. And then Cabras putting Heathens to the sword in another big defeat. Yeah. I think let's start with the Heathens game. Heathens, Cabras, that was the first game of the day at the Wankuku Stadium in Kampala. Yeah. A good number of fans came out to support both sides. Yes. Despite the weather, I mean, Heathens unable to take down a very strong Cabra side.
To say unable, you're kind of giving Heathens a chance, which wasn't there. Look, even the most staunch Heathens fans, the moment the team came out, of course, the Cabras named their team first, I think at around 4 p.m. or something like that. On Friday, the moment they put their team out, every rugby fan that was there on social media, the first thing they complain about, of course, about I think half of the team, about 12 players in that Cabras team play for the Kenya national team, and that was the first thing that they put out. The fans reacted first to the line out that the Cabras put out, and they were like, you should have told us first of all that you're bringing the national team to play this, especially after that the Kenyans were not as much interested in playing. I mean, the cross-border kind of, it was Uganda all negotiating and all that. So fans were reacting to the team saying that you're not bringing this kind of this kind of team that you are going to face at this point. I thought Heathens did not have a chance, especially with the kind of team that they named. Aaron Ofoyo started on the bench. and of course they gave every young guy. In fact, when they were walking out of the tunnel, the kind of there is a video that came out showing young Sylvester Monseo just behind just behind, looking at the guys who were running in fast ahead of him, and kind of wondering, but we're together. I mean, these are just things that and stuff like that. You can look at him just behind Santos Center. That is Sylvester. What are we going to take on at this point? It's quite very, 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 very hard. You know, when you have guys like that, you have a young lad, what, 19, 20 years old, looking at the guy, they're like, but Tugendo and telling Santos, like, Tugendo and Nyagawa Nene knew. I mean, stuff like that makes it interesting, but you could know, like, prior to that game, that Heathens did not stand a chance in that game, especially that they were playing a team that has been dominating Kenya for the past 2-3 seasons. I mean, taken over from KCB, who were the most dominant side at that point. I thought it was a game in which Heathens really never stood a chance, for sure.
Yeah, I didn't know Asman Mogera plays for Cup Brass,
Yeah.
but I think he sort of tapped Santos Setes and told him, "I'm with demo." I don't know if Fred could go back to that video, because when you look at it again, that boy looks
Yeah, and rightfully so, I think. And rightly so, because again, when you're looking at the guys who were here in Kampala for the Africa Cup last year, and they're the same guys that you're seeing in the club, as a young lad, you'll be scared for your life. Especially because, one, you're not going to hide, you're going to be in that front row. It is a wet day, so there's going to be a lot of scrummaging, a lot of forwards involved in the game, because it's going to be almost a forwards game because of the weather and the conditions of the pitch. Okay. So Sylvester was right to be scared, man.
Okay, let me ask Joseph about what Franklin you've mentioned. I was also surprised. I'm not a rugby expert, as much as I love the game. Surprised that in a game of this magnitude, especially if you've looked at the Cabras team that you're going to play against, I was surprised that Aaron started on the bench. How do those things work?
And you see, that is a game where you would ideally expect Nicolas Cato to begin at number 9, and of course Aaron at number 10. But Aaron began on bench, and then when he came on in the second half, you could see that he totally changed that game. That's when the Heathens managed to put some reasonable points on board. But then Aaron, being the magnifico that he is, he goes ahead and gets a yellow card. And when the score is about 42 or 45, then he gets a yellow card after doing all those nice things, and that's how the score managed to be stretched that far, with Heathens having only 14 men on the pitch.
So, but what was the thinking?
I want to kind of
start him?
I kind of want to feel like, in a way, I think Coach Tolly wanted to have what we would call an impact player on the bench, and when you scan through the whole Heathen squad, you couldn't look at another player who could come off the bench and kind of make some things interesting for the team. You don't want... ideally, you would think if Aaron starts, he is definitely going to be targeted, and he's not going to have that game. I mean, look at the way KCB started. They were looking out for sure. We know as the way is probably Pirates' top tackle out, best defender and all that. So they kind of looking out for him. I would think if Aaron started, within the first 5 minutes, especially that one, Aaron is a number 9 or number 10 who likes to carry the ball.
He loves the ball.
And when you do that against bully oppositions like the Kenyans, they're always going to look out for you and kind of have you, I think, make sure that game ogenda jewelry, right? You don't have it easy. So for me, that is kind of my thought process. I thought Coach Tolly was thinking, I need an impact player off the bench, and no other player in that squad other than Aaron Foyros who can make things interesting and give fans something to cheer about.
Okay.
Personally, I would have loved to be in that Heathens huddle immediately after the game, or even their first training session back after the game. Coach Tolly probably was communicating to these players that bulijjo tubagamba mukole gym. Now you see, we tell you to carry metal, you don't carry metal, and then you go up against such opponents, and that's what happens. But for example, for the Pirates, you could tell that they are well conditioned. However much they were, getting dominated in those one-on-one collisions, I didn't see. Okay, there was only one player who limped off. That was Jeremiah Okello, but that is a player who I believe covered about 8 to 10 kilometers on the day. He was hitting every defensive rack. He was, attacking so well down that flank. He was even putting in very nice kicks to gain that territory, and I believe he did well. But of course, when you look at those highlights from the highlights from Pirates versus
Joseph,
KCB.
I'm going to stop you a bit before we go to Pirates. Let's first listen to Aaron from Heathens and the Cabras interviews, and then we talk about the team that won. I'll save it the best for us.
Thank you very much. It's Aaron of Wowos. It has been a good experience playing around the Cabras. It wasn't the first time playing against them. The first time it was at Chadondo when I was, I think, like 20 years old. It was a good game against them. We always have a good show playing against the teams across the border, and we learn a lot from them, and it's a good experience always. It's just we liked about some team command, team leadership, and a lot of game plans we didn't execute. But going forward, I know we shall do better. It really helps us a lot to know where we have done wrong and where we have done well. So we are going back to the drawing board to go back into our league here in Uganda, so that we can clean up what we have done wrong this weekend. We are ready. Yes, this is done. This is now water under the bridge. We are looking forward to play Cubs next weekend at Legends, and we are willing to execute all our game plans, and we are willing to be victorious at the end of the game.
That's Aaron of Wowos, the star man for Heathen, speaking to Joseph Man Mahomes after that game against Cabras. Joseph, something Aaron hinted on about leadership in the team. Is it something that you feel that Heathens lack? Now they don't have Michael Korach. Of course, Aaron started on the bench, so they really needed someone to step up on the pitch. Yeah, they needed someone to step up on the pitch, and when you see the most experienced player who was on that pitch, that was Santos Santos. Already as a forward, he already has a lot of work on his plate to be, babysitting the players here and there, but you feel like some of the other senior players haven't really stood up very well. Players like Dennis Etwao, players like Cloud Otema, I feel like those are players that should be, providing that sort of leadership. But Coach Tolly being Coach Tolly, he may entrust leadership with the younger guard, the ones that is now introducing into the team, the Mavina Sabas who started, the Joshua Kafunga Kande, the Matthew Musasis of this world. He may decide to empower them and move forward with them. Sort of build the new Heathens all together. Because imagine playing a Cabras on their 23-man squad, about 12 of them are Simbas, and they were here for the Rugby Africa Cup just last year. And then you find a Heathens team with all the new players that they have brought in. I was looking at Wako, and I was also looking at his other Hippos teammate,
Julius.
Also Julius Opio. I was seeing Julius Opio and Aziz Khan carrying very many balls for flankers or looks who are, I don't think they are, I don't think they are beyond 100 kgs. And then you look at flankers like George Nyambua of the Cabras, who is their captain. I think that reaction, Sylvester, is all of us, because that's how we must have felt on the day. You are still talking about leadership. You have a front row that is starting with Santos Senteza, Sylvester, and then Pride Onyango. And you can tell that that is a very inexperienced front row. They know rugby, but not rugby at that level, and I think it showed on the day.
Yeah, and look, when you're playing,
It's a funny reaction there, for Franklin. Sorry, cut you. Funny reaction there from Sylvester. Someone even walks by him and then he just goes to the side like, hey, Banag.
Yeah. Well, look, when for me is how I assess season. One, I think this is a good hard learning lesson for the boys. Again, as I said earlier, is that if anything, Heathens are going to, Ugandan teams are going to get out of the experience of playing over the weekend. Is that when you are thrown in the deep end like that, as a young man, if you experience it at 21, of course you experience high quality rugby at 21 and highly demanding rugby at 21. Of course, you're going to look at the game differently after that. You at this point, Sylvester is not going to look at rugby the same. Okay. Of course, after the game, I saw him walk around. I think he came while we were standing out as fans, and you would see a guy who like, yeah, this is what I want to be like. Having some sort of confidence. Yeah, Bankuye, but I think if I continue to play at this level, it's an experience that you want to get when you're still a young guy, rather than getting lessons when you think you're grown up. I think when you get stuff like that, you experience a beating like that. I think it helps in a way in kind of turning you from a boy into a man. Rugby is a game for big boys.
And now I think even for Uganda's
You can
sake,
see that video. Someone walks past him and he just...
for Uganda's sake, Sylvester and some other youngsters are currently, in training for the Under-20 Cup that is going to be played in Uganda at the Hoima City Stadium. And I think he's going to be overall a very different player from the player he is now. It's always good to have that reality check. No chimanyanti.
Yep.
Tori wachitaronga bwolowooza, especially at that level. He's a hooker. It's a very pivotal position. Number two, it's a very pivotal.
Right?
Yeah, he's the one who throws in the scrum. He's the one who puts that break foot and then hooks the ball back for it to be collected from the base. So he's a very pivotal player on the pitch. And for him to experience this level of rugby at club level, he's going to be a gem for the nation at a national level.
All right. I think building for the future, and it's always good to experience the things earlier on rather than later on. Yeah. But let's also listen to the reactions of Cabras from that game against the Heathens.
Carlos Kachwa, Cabras head coach. We had a very beautiful outing. We really appreciate the heavens of Uganda for not raining, because we dominated the game from kickoff, and we dominated all our set pieces. And look, it was a good game to watch. It's just a few mistakes there and there, but yeah, all in all, we had a good game. But look, they're a very good side. They play via momentum. They thrive under momentum, and I think that's one thing we did very well, is to kill their momentum, and they couldn't do much about it. But yeah, look, our boys picked up their hands. They did very well. I'm an extremely proud coach today.
Next up, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have the captain of the losing side.
Look, to be honest with you, as we sit, I don't even know what the format is. It was not really well explained to us, but let me tell you, where we are right now as a club and as a team, I really believe that any team that comes, we are ready. We're just waiting for anyone. We are in a good space as a club, and the boys are really in a good space as well. So truly speaking, it doesn't matter who comes, we will just be ready, and we just want to retain what belongs to us.
Your run in the Enterprise Cup continues. You're four-time champion, 4 consecutive times so far now. 5, I'm sorry, I don't know how to count, but 5 times now, and it seems not to be stopped. What exceptional things did you do today?
I think today we just had to our game plan, and obviously building on our win momentum. So I think we've been doing it for a long time. So I think it, I might say it comes natural, or we are used to winning. So I feel just building on our momentum.
But of course, the final score of the game is something that I've been joking about, that is closer to your independence and our independence, 1961. We are 62, you're 63. But do you think such a score is something that the Enterprise Cup was ready for?
I believe, we've been putting some pretty bigger margins on our scores of late. And I feel it was a good challenge for us to come to Uganda. We sort of, it was a new environment, but I think we started our game plan, and things worked for us today.
Yeah, and of course you guys brought out all the big guns today. I counted about 12 over the 23 players who featured for Kenya, including yourself, last year in the Rugby Africa Cup in Uganda, and now they've also come back. Was it intentional to sort of field a very strong team, extremely strong team?
Well, if you look over the course of the season, in our games this season, that has been our regular squad. We obviously had people who had been in injuries, so they were brought back, especially at this crucial moment, playoffs and knockouts. So we've been playing like this for the whole of the season.
Then you probably going to meet the Pirates, and you've seen how they play here. Are we seeing another 60-point score, or things are going to be different?
We'll obviously get to see what will happen on that day. I think we can leave that to the game day, but we'll obviously work on how to tackle Pirates come the semi-finals.
Yeah, and good luck in. What am I saying? Good luck, but do your best in the semi-finals, and we shall see. Hi, John. Hi, John. How are you doing? Welcome back from the injury.
Thank you so much.
How has it been on the sideline?
It's been tough looking at watching from the sidelines, you know.
Yeah.
We usually don't like watching from the sidelines, but to see the boys doing what they
But
love.
now you're officially back.
And I'm officially back. I'm just happy. I'm just feeling grateful. Yeah, and ready to cook as well. Yeah, that's right.
Good luck in the Kenya Cup.
Thank you so much.
The Enterprise Cup, I hope you guys lose.
Please, we hope not.
Thank you very much. That is Barry Young and John Kubu, two brilliant players on the day. They were very tough for Uganda. I think they combined very well. They combined very well at half-back pairing with Barry Young at 9 and then John Kubu at 10. Very jovial guy. I was one of those people that were happy to see him back. He has been struggling with a very bad knee for a very long time now. But the coach put him out there, gave him some minutes, and I think now he's going to be ready when they go back for the Kenya Cup. But interestingly, in that very video, you could see some of the Victoria Sharks. I saw Paul Musami there, a former Kenya international, just chilling in the back with his fellow Kenyans. I saw, I think we could also see some fellows, I think the true reward from the source had entered the system, and the guys were very happy. Just they were very happy to be there on the day. But now, as you can see, that is a very simple backline move, and he goes all the way and scores. That just shows you that we are very different levels apart.
Yeah. See, for me, again, if there's anything that we're going to get, and I hope this Enterprise Cup continues to be cross-border in the years to come. I mean, next year and the years to come. If there is anything, I think in 5 or so years, Ugandan clubs will be trying to level up at this point, because when you expose yourself to elite competition, you have no option but to kind of try to close that gap.
Yeah,
and from the Ugandan perspective, I think that helps a lot. Of course, the Kenyans were praising how the communication and marketing around rugby in Uganda is top-notch and all that. Now, if we accompany that with now the game as well on the pitch, for me, I think that is what is lacking, and that can only be closed if we continue with tournaments like this. When you're playing against a team that has a high-performance center as their own facility, You know, my guy, you know what you're going in for.
Yeah, but guys, before, not everything was bad. On the day, Pirates represented us very well. The Pirates coming through against a very strong KCB team. I saw a tweet somewhere where I think KCB had shared a video of them in the dressing room. And then someone said that while the Pirates were warming up, these guys were twerking. But Pirates, the winners on the day, and they move on to the semi-finals where they'll be playing...
Nons.
They will be playing Nons, and KC Cabras will be playing Menengai Oilers. Pirates will be away from home, unfortunately. I hoped that,
the Pirates semi-final is going to be played in Uganda.
Yeah.
And I really hope it's at KPA because
everybody hopes it is at KPA.
I hope
but first you have to pray for the rain, man. What if it rains at KPA?
Oh, Pirates winning that one 11-10. Very small man with a big heart there, Wanyama. But let's start with the game. Pirates, how did they pull this off? Joseph.
Yes, as you can see from kickoff, it was very clear that it is going to be...
That's a terrible knock on, as if the game wasn't there.
Yes, and that was almost the theme of the game because the KCB were winning all those individual collisions. But I feel like the Pirates defended well, especially as a team. Especially that second man who comes in to tackle was doing a very incredible job. You can see Isaac Massa there chasing for the life, running for his life. And it was moments like those where if at all you hit one, then you are barely beyond the gain line. You hit here and you gain like a meter or two, and that is all because the Pirates as a team were recovering very well. You can even see from that frame, still unfit Didi was also tracking back. He was never caught on side in those moments, and of course he's a big game player. That one. That is what I was trying to illustrate. You see, Ray gets the hit, but then the second man to arrive, the tackle assist actually finishes the tackle. And as a unit, they did that so well on the day. And then for them, the game plan was clear. We execute our structure, and I believe that you are seeing the structure in those games because they weren't just running around like headless chicken. They knew exactly what they were there to execute. And me personally, I was very pleased with their forwards because on the day when you have those Kenyan forwards running at you, and then when you have possession, you also manage to sort of come back and do your own thing because usually, you know that Mike Tyson thingy code. Every man has a plan until
they hit you in the mouth.
And now that didn't happen for the Pirates because however much they were getting battered, whenever they had possession, they were using that ball very well and sort of punishing the KCB on the day. I feel like probably the fly half didn't have the best game. The Ugandan fly half, that is William Corey, didn't have a very good game. This is the sort of game where you would ideally expect Ivan Magum to come in and change it totally because we saw that in the final last year against the Ginger Hippos, another game that Didi played. As I said, Didi is a big game player. Didi will be, I don't know, overpicked up from KFC or something, and then he comes up, shows up, plays the rugby of his life, and goes back to sabbatical.
See, then one thing is, I just wanted to draw a small difference between how KCB approached the game and how Cabras approached the game. KCB played what I would call old school Kenyan rugby. Old Kenyan teams and even the national teams, the Simbas, played a lot of bully rugby, contact rugby, where they could just come and basically hit you out of the park. And KCB wanted to play that kind of rugby where it's big hits, send some sort of scare through the squad, and now you can walk through across with guys not really sure if they should make that tackle or not. And one thing that Pirates were ready for that kind of rugby, because I think Marvin prepared his boys that the kind of rugby that you're going to, actually the old school rugby that KCB themselves were playing when they were dominating the Kenyan rugby of what, 10 years ago. It was that kind of rugby, a lot of contact, big hits, to basically scare the defender that Ogendo did already. When you say a guy running at you, you think twice if you should tackle or if you not. And so I think Pirates were ready for to take in all the contact that KCB players were willing to throw in. But also, they kind of played with a lot of caution, which in a way I think helped Pirates. The number 10 played very, very far away. They kind of tried to hide him from the action. And I think that in a way kind of helped Pirates, that the ball was not kind of moving a little faster. And so in setting their defense, they were top notch. And again, the bigger thing is that every Pirate on the pitch was a willing defender, was willing to throw in the tackle. And of course, Timothy Kisika covered the back very well with gathering almost every kick but one. You know, he fielded so well. And again, for me, I don't think the Kenyans observed that actually Pirates were playing with one sweeper. Jeremiah and Chizito were a little bit up front. So even in their kicking, I don't think they gave Timothy Kisiga a lot of trouble in running to collect that ball, that they could kind of close some meters in their kicking. And so I think in everything that KCB did, in a way they played into the hands of Pirates. Or Pirates, if not that, I think Pirates were very ready, and they kind of knew what KCB were going to do. And of course, when you have a guy like Marvin, he pays a lot of attention to the detail of the game. I mean, in terms of preparing the guys for that kind of stuff. Yeah,
Pirates is really a very high-scoring team. And for you to see them grind out a result is such a very good thing. And from what you guys have explained is that they were ready for that. Today, it's about grit.
Yes, I think they knew it was not going to be them to take the initiative. They knew very well they are going to be on the back foot for most of the game. And I mean, when you look at even the backline, the selection, when you have Massa, of course, Shimwa, who played the game of his life. I think since he joined Pirates, probably even ever since he started playing rugby, I've not seen him play that good, especially defensively. I mean, everybody in that Pirates squad was willing to throw their body on the line. You know how Magom always talks about putting your body on the line. I think they put their bodies on the line in that game. And I don't want to talk about the help.
But the other thing that Franklin, you make mention of, and I think we're having this very discussion with the producer Fred after the game, and he was talking about how Brian Wahinya, that 10, was sort of hidden away from the action, and he was manning the backfield. But then when we had the chat with him, he was telling us about how they were planning to play a territorial game, and of course, when you're going to play a territorial game, that means you only exit when you must. And now their forwards are already carrying the ball very well. You didn't need that sort of link between the number 9 and the forwards, because they were always there and they are always willing to carry the ball, sort of making Wahinya useless. But at the times when he had the ball, Minister of Defense Isaac Massa was always in his face. And I think that sort of contributed to the KCB not fully executing on the day.
And also the exit, as I said earlier, the exit was basically going to the sweeper, Chisiga, who had very safe hands. I don't think they had a lot of exit kicks that troubled Pirates backline. As for example, how Cabras had every time Kubo was kicking the ball, he would either find a touch in a 50-22 or something like that. I don't think the exits were sort of troubling for Pirates. I think they were just setting a foundation for Pirates to kind of attack and then counter-attack and then put on the pressure. And again, when you play like that, I don't think that shows a team that was kind of, I think they were shocked by how Pirates first of all approached the game. I think they thought Pirates were kind of another Ugandan side that is going to be there for the taking. At some point, I thought they were a little bit shocked. Of course, they didn't have some of their players who are part of the Shuja that are playing the HSBC, whatever, 2 and all that. But again, that is just, and most of them, I mean, some of the Kenyan journalists that came that I spoke to, like, that cannot be an excuse and all that. But I don't think KCB expected this from a Ugandan side. That sort of grit, that sort of counter-attacking. As you know, again, if anything, Pirates have one like a guy. Somehow Jeremiah Yoko will always score. It doesn't matter the type of game that he has. He can have a bad game, but if he gets 1 or 2 chances, one is going to be a try. And for a game like this, you always want that moment where one chance, it has to count.
Yeah, 1 shot, 1 kill.
Yeah.
And then he executes. But then the other thing could have been psychological, because after you're watching your fellow countrymen watching another team, 1961, you sort of come in with the same mindset of it's now also our turn to watch.
Yeah.
And then when you get there, you find a very, very, very different team, a differently prepared team on the day. And the other thing that we don't highlight enough is that set piece. By now we know that Nathan Bwambali is the best thrower of the ball in Uganda, and he has sort of mastered that 6 ball that he always throws over the top. That is very good. But also, again, kudos to Didi, because he comes in and stabilizes that scrum alongside Areho Moons and Nathan Bwambali. And I feel like that was one area where the Pirates did very well, because when you compare them to the KCB, yes, Frank Chidega is a big man, Emonge Elifaz is a big man, but when you look at Ande Kolomolo and you look at that shot, who was putting on 32 as well, with that slow pairing in the engine room, you're definitely not holding that scrum when they decide to push. But the Pirates did that, so kudos to them.
Yeah, big job there for the Pirates. 11-10, very close, but the Pirates with the grit and enough for them to earn themselves a semi-final place. And like we're all praying for, we hope it will be at the Kings Park Arena. I believe that's a sort of atmosphere that could help them rise to the occasion and
then just
make
before,
the final.
That's before you, again, how I look at Marvin as a guy who really prepared for this game. Tashobi has been the guy who has been starting as the number 7, or as one of the flankers. And Gongodi has been an impact player off the bench most of the league games. Now, knowing that this is going to be a game of grit, and this is not downplaying Tashobi, I think he's one of the best tacklers there is in the league. A small man, but very good tackler. But knowing that this is going to be bully ball 101, he had to get Gongodio on the pitch for that game to start and kind of set the tone that every guy on the pitch, you have Ziwa, you have, of course, the Exib, Emong, and then you have, of course, Masa, and every guy, like, these are guys who are tacklers, like guys who are not afraid of that contact, Jim Terimba kind of guys. I thought that was kind of course, it's the players that he has, but it was kind of a matter for Mavo to think that this is the guy I need to start this game.
Jim Terimba, body on body. Yeah. So let's listen to the reactions from the teams, as Fred gets himself ready. But just a funny to tell you, this Enterprise Cup was 1 versus 1, not so 2 versus 2.
Yes.
So when I saw the result, in my head I was thinking the Ugandan champion beat the Kenyan champion. Is that right?
No, that's not right. It was this was the Ugandan champion for the Uganda Cup, but that was the best seeded team coming out of their domestic quarterfinals of the Enterprise Cup. So KCB had a very big margin. I think they beat someone 62 something. They had a very big margin, and that's why they are seeded as number 1 from Kenya. And like that.
Oh, okay. In my head, I'm thinking 1 versus 1 means Ugandan champion. Yakuya champion win.
Would have been Cabras.
Let's listen to the reactions from the game.
It's been an electric game, but unfortunately we didn't come out on top. I think we didn't take most of our chances when we started. And this is a game of chances. If you don't take your points, if you don't take your chances, it's not going to happen. So I can say Pirates took all their chances. They played in the right zones, and that's why they've won the game.
Yes, you did lose the game. The fight was there.
Pirates, for me it's a bittersweet because I know Marvin. I've played against Marvin, I think, for almost a decade. So I know he's a good player, he's a good coach. I've seen him what he's doing. And I knew it was going to be a hard game where the forwards are going to show up. And I just wish them the best as they move on. And hopefully next year when we do this again, we're going to come on top. Yeah.
What do you have to say about your set piece as a back?
As a back, honestly, but I live for the forwards. I know they're leaving for the forwards because they know what to work on. I don't know much about the scrums and the line-out because they know well how to work on it. But I'm sure as a team, we'll go and review the videos and see what went wrong, what we need to improve on, and just work on it. Pick up the character. That's what's important for us. Yeah.
I'm quite emotional at the moment. I don't really have the right words to say, but it's been a tough game. It's been a game of 5 margins, and we managed to become the second best out of the game. It's a tough loss for us. We pick up our lessons from that, and we look at what to work on going forward. We still have a season ahead, and yeah.
Do you think the set pieces cost us?
Yeah, we slacked off in a couple of moments. We had moments where we had good set pieces, we had good lineouts, we had bad lineouts. It was a fluctuation. We didn't really get the best foot forward throughout the game. We had our chances, so many chances in the game as compared to them, but then we just didn't maximize on the chances we had to get the points we were supposed to get.
They're a good side. They're a top side. They managed to control a lot of the game. They managed to control a lot of the game. I think they had the territory battle on us. I don't think we won that one. And even when we were trying to fight our way back into the game, they were always there. So they're a good side. And they're a good side.
Most of the boys are very young boys, and we've been rebuilding, and I think now we have the lingo. It's just this is our first loss of the season. We just have to pick the character and show who we are. This game won't define who we are as a team. I'm sure about that. It hurts. We've disappointed a lot of people. Yeah, we've disappointed a lot of our fans. The Kenyan guys are going to slaughter us as well. But we'll pick up. We'll show character as a team, and we'll show who we are. This game won't define us. We'll just show who we are from there.
Yeah, the only Kenyan side to lose this weekend to that's why you said that I'm sure the Kenyan fans are going to have us, because I think they expected a clean sweep of all the Ugandan teams. But KCB there, I think for me, the point out of it is they say they missed some chances for them to be able to get back in the game. I think every time they tried, Pirates was there. So there was never a sliding door moment for them at all in the whole game.
Yes, I felt like especially kicking for goal, they kicked very poorly. Then also because with that, not underlooking,
overconfidence, I think.
Yes. Because they came thinking that this would be easy, even opportunities like going for those penalties that really came by them. Going and kicking for the penalties, they didn't do that. They always elected to go for the line out. And of course, Coach Mavo being a forward, you would expect that he has prepared his boys very well to sort of defend them all, which we rarely see in Ugandan rugby, but they did very well. Nathan Bwambale would see him in some of those moments. It would appear like he's entering from the side, but he's not, because the ball isn't formed at that moment, so he has every right to go and contest for that ball at the back of that mall. So that was great defense in there, but I was still talking about the kicking. They scored more tries than Pirates, by the way. They had 2 tries, Pirates had 1. But even the 2 tries that they scored, they failed to convert, which feels like that was another opportunity that went
one
big.
Of them was very close to goal. Really.
Yeah, missed opportunity for them. But let's listen to the man of the moment, big game player only, Didi from Pirates.
Hey, he's not a big boy, but he's a big boy in the front row. But I'll say big up to my fellow prop here. Man played like 75 minutes.
Muhumza, how was it out there?
Not one I can say, but of course we have to give it for the team, because it all starts from that cooking machine, and we have been cooking and today we have served. So big ups. My fellow prop.
What does it say?
We have been cooking. So let's don't win scrum down.
We are still cooking, and trust me, a lot is more to be served. So watch out for the pilots, scrums, and every set piece. Yeah, big ups to the coaches and fellow players.
As a front row, you played majority of the game. You played over 60 minutes today here, and I can say that the set piece was very good. But also we have to shout out to Nathan Bwambale on the line out. What are some of those aspects of the line out that you think Nathan has mastered?
I think Nathan is incredible. He's so big, but the good thing is that we practice as much as possible, as many lineouts as possible. And the more we practice, the more sweet they come out, the moves. And trust me, on the pitch, it comes out.
Nathan is, I think, the most experienced pirate right now. He must be the most capped. So basing on his experience, this is BAU. So I'm telling you, with the experience that we now have, we're no longer the young kids on the block. as evidenced. And I'm telling you, there's, like I said, there's more that we are cooking and we are in charge.
Yeah, the Enterprise Cup has just come back, and the Pirates have proceeded to the semi-finals, which is incredible for Ugandan rugby. But let us be selfish here. For Pirates rugby, it's way, way, way more incredible because now you go on to the semi-finals, and most of these players have never played the Enterprise Cup before. Not even just most, but all of them have never played the Enterprise Cup before. But what does the return of the Enterprise Cup mean to you?
This is what it means to me. Being a big fish in a pond really doesn't count. In Uganda, for Coats we are big fish. Now we'll actually know if we have substance when we go into a bigger platform. So what it means to me, I will know whether we are truly the best in the region. That's what it means to me.
And now you're top 4 in the region. Muhumza, how does it feel to be top 4 in the region?
Such a pressure which comes to us, but also it makes us work harder and make sure we can execute and give it back to our teammates, our coaches, and plus the fans. And at all times, we are going to make sure that we deliver. All times.
All right, boys, thank you for cooking and thank you for delivering today. Best of luck in the semi-finals.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Uganda. Just of course to appreciate the hard work of the Stanbic Bank Black Pirates as they clap out their fans.
All right, that's an engine room for the Pirates. I like that thing.
The driver of UDP 055
It's a way when I see the record. Like, if I'm a fan, I also feel like going to another country. Yeah? I like that the vibe. It's a very, very good vibe. Of course, the man leading that chant, Big Z was here before on the weekly Wowos. But something that that Fred said that Didi said that salads don't win scrums. Clearly, he's a man of stake only. Yeah, but a big engine room there, Ari Holmes, a former Impis player. There's a way you found a way of bringing Impis in the conversation. But it is okay. It's for a good cause. I mean, Pirates doing the business and they move on to the semi-finals. Do they have a chance against their semi-final opponents? And hopefully they can be at the King's Park. I think that will be the best atmosphere for them and the biggest chance for them to be able to win.
Yes, definitely. They have a very good opportunity in that game against the Nondis when the Nondis travel to Uganda on 11th April. However, I feel like there are certain aspects of the game that they can still do better. In that interview, when I talked to Mahomes, I'm actually applauding him for playing about 60 to 70 minutes as a prop. That is something that rarely comes by. But the one reason why he manages to put in all those minutes is that when you saw the substitutes, especially the props that were coming off the bench, they weren't. How do I politely put it?
They couldn't match up.
They couldn't match up to the forwards of the KCB. Yeah. Also, there is still that drift in quality between the starting props and the
second
and then the second props on the game on the day, which is something that can hurt you against any other team. Say, for example, in times of a scrum penalty, and then they are given a card or even an injury. Unfortunately, then you're left with. Then you're left with a very weakened scrum because of the options that you have coming off the bench. But yes, Pirates have a very good chance. Remember that the Nondis only managed to beat the Cobs 29-13, and that is a weakened Cobs that they beat. Now, if you factor in things like travel as well, you factor in home advantage, hopefully we are KP as everyone is wishing. You factor in home advantage as well, you feel like the Pirates have a very good chance in that semi-final, and we also thank them for representing the country. And we may even see them in the final. Who knows?
Yeah. I'm hoping that that weekend there will be no other rugby apart from the Enterprise Cup, so that everyone is at KPA and make it very, very hostile for the Kenyan team, the Nondis, that will be coming to take on the Pirates. In the semi-finals, the semi-finals of the Enterprise Cup. I think we've had an extensive conversation on the Enterprise Cup, but there will be Joseph, you want to say something?
About 3 Ugandan teams traveled to Kenya last weekend, and
ladies,
yes, and I'm glad that the ladies also managed to pick up their win over there. They have been asserting their dominance against the Kenyans, and I feel like we are almost there, especially in the 7s, and now in the 15s we are also getting closer to doing the business against the Kenyan ladies, and I hope that when they go back again in May. Because they'll be playing the Rugby Africa Women's Cup in late May. I hope when they go back, they can sort of build onto that momentum that they've already gained by not only beating the Kenya Lionesses, but also putting up a very good performance against the Springbok ladies.
Yeah. You see, then one of the things that I think. The women's rugby, I think, have done very well over the past few years. Of course, I think before 4 years ago, women's rugby in Uganda was not very, very consistent. But just the growth that the women's game has experienced over the past 3 years, I think has been tremendous. And that is, of course, at a club level, and now the competition is changing a little bit to having more teams. If there is a lot of consistency in kind of holding these competitions that we have now consistently and getting ladies to play enough rugby over time, I think even to start reflecting on the 15s national level, where we are more than anything beaten. I think that is where the biggest difference between Kenyan rugby and Uganda is at that 15th game of the ladies. I think they are almost miles ahead of us. But if the union, as has done over the past few years, continue on consistently having this women's 15th game, and of course having teams kind of going across the board and kind of competing in their kind of setup, and I think in a way it is going to help our ladies grow a little bit better. And of course make the women's 15th game a little better than it is right now. But baby steps are being taken, and it is good progress, really.
Okay, continue on that path you are, and make sure that the ladies are more empowered for them. I think the good thing about, there's a time when Kenyan sport was really way ahead of us, but in cricket we have taken over to you rugby, Mutuyambi. I've seen in volleyball, the Kenyan ladies, the Kenyan teams are very, very good. They dominate.
They are way ahead.
With the runners as well. But at least we know the gap is closing slowly but surely.
Yeah. And you see, now when you involve the Rwandans, I feel like the conversation now shifts to things of genetics and sort of like our size, because
it's a bit
most sports that need size, we always fall short in that regard. And I think that's why we have been doing better than we have been doing better with the 7s than the 15s, because for example, that Africa Cup that was in Madagascar last year, you could tell that our girls actually know the rugby and they can take on the Kenyans, but then the size issue comes into play, and we also saw it against just the other day, Cabras versus Heathens. You could tell that the size differences are very big, and it causes issues.
Andeko is supposed to be a forward here in Uganda.
But that has been our time this week on the Weekly Wowos. Big sports happening this week as well, by the way. On Wednesday, we shall have the basketball at Abuja Park, where Blazers will be taking on Westlife. That's a game I'm very interested in, because Westlife has been unbeaten so far.
They have lost one.
They've lost one.
But
they've been really the team that has made
the
midfield.
Yes.
Yeah, they've been ahead of everyone else in the midfield. While Blazers, of course, we categorize them in the same conversation as the City Oilers and UCU of this world.
UCU is a bit off.
Anything to look forward to at Abuja Park?
Yeah, sure. Look, of course, Westlife needed a loss against Summit to kind of expose a few things that were lacking. Of course, after beating their matchups and all that, they needed, I think, a loss to show how far or how close they are. And I think that is one loss that, in a way, put things into perspective for Coach Moyo Sokwe and the team around Westlife. But of course, for now, Blazers, it has been I want to say walk in the park since that opening day defeat to State Oilers. And I mean, especially when they're playing at a ground at which they train, they know how those hoops look and everything else. I think it is going to be very difficult for Res Life playing non-Blazers who will be playing at home, and of course, two, a team that doesn't want to kind of fall off in a way. When you fall to a team like Res Life, you're kind of giving other teams signs that you can get something out of it. But again, of course, it is an opportunity where Res Life players can kind of try to level up with the top players of the league, and know that it should be an interesting matchup.
Yeah, interesting matchup. Don't forget to subscribe to the Kawowo Sports YouTube channel, because that game will be available live and free on Kawowo Sports. So make sure you subscribe to the channel for you to watch some basketball this Wednesday from Abuja Park. The production team doing a good job. Last weekend I was at home. This week I was at home watching the Pearl Queens taking on the Victoria Crocs. Yeah. Even when there was a delay of over an hour due to a power blackout. I mean, that meant that the teams that are going to play second, the game will finish at 1 a.m. and then
finished past midnight.
Yeah, by the time you find transport to go home and things like that, my head, I said the complications of Ugandan sport just never end.
Even the guys who do the production, wongere ukasent. Anyway, but a little bit of what happened over the weekend. The game that you see on your screen is UCU Canoes and KCCA Panthers. The last game of Sunday, like the game had to go into overtime. KCCA looked very comfortable at some point in the third quarter and the start of the fourth quarter. And then you came back to tie the game and force overtime. But one thing that I've said time and again, I think, and the coach of KCCA, I think, deep down he knows it's an issue that he needs to fix. I don't think KCCA handle late game moments or close game moments very well. And it has happened in almost all the games that they have lost 4 games, I think. It has happened in most of the games that they have lost to State Oilers. They had that State Oilers game in control until late in the game when they just couldn't manage that tight situation. The game against, of course, Summit, they lost to, I think, was it UPDF? Not UPDF, but in the four games that they have lost, I think they have had issues with managing late game situations. And if there's anything that Coach Raymond and his team need to kind of address is you need to manage the games better, especially when there is a lot of pressure that is being applied to your side. But it was a very, very good game for the neutrals to watch. Every game that goes into overtime, of course, it's very, and a game before that, between UMU and I think it has now become a habit. Every match day, there is a guy who scored 30 in this league, and it's becoming commonplace. There is a guy who is scoring 30. Agot was on fire yesterday for UMU as they got their second win of the season, and that they follow up that. It is a second consecutive win, by the way. After playing very poorly, starting with 5 straight losses, they have now netted two wins in a row. UMU, you could say, they are a bit back on track. And I think if there is anything that is interesting now in basketball, is that every match day, Australia again will cover Asatu. That is very unheard of in Ugandan basketball. But guys are consistently putting up the numbers.
All right, very, very interesting, 30 points and more. But KCCA failing in overtime to the UCU Cannons. Unfortunate for them, but we'll wait and see what happens.
KCCA actually won that game?
No, KCCA winning that game. My apologies, not UCU. But there are a few people in the stadium. But one of the things I've always wondered, Franklin, about basketball, don't they have shorts that fit them? Why do they have to funya them?
No, usually, I mean, in pro basketball, usually when they are going to make jerseys, measurements of players are taken. In Uganda, most in amateur sport, to wear your jersey. Now, if it finds you a little bit too small, I mean, the guys in rugby know Davis Chiwarabi.
There was a time actually I thought maybe it is fashionable. That's maybe basketball fashion.
No. No, not exactly. I think for most teams, measurements are not taken of the player.
The team manager just buys Excel for the whole
Excel. For the especially now that you cannot change, you're not certain of the players that you're going to have for the season and all that. Because in pro sports, you know the guys who you have. You know you have a guy you're on contract for like 3-4 years, of course. But here you're not sure if the guy is going to be around next year or will not take out.
I've always been wondering, but that has been our time this week on the Weekly Horse. Big conversation on the big conversation on the Enterprise Cup. I've had Joseph Mann, who's a rugby connoisseur, Franklin Kawowo, our editor at Kawowo Sports. I've been Dennis Musali, your host, and as always, make sure you keep reading Kawowo Sports.
Yep. Flash your thumbs. It's okay.